Hey, welcome back to Reliable Sources. I'm Brian Stelter. Political leaders in this day and age need to be tech savvy. I mean, we all need a lot more tech literacy in this world. But that's not what we're getting from the president, are we? Take a look at these examples from the past few days. His views about climate change science are helped, or actually they're rather hurt, by his friends at Fox News. When that climate change denier showed up on TV, Trump approvingly quoted him and added his own reaction saying, wow. So he's promoting the idea that the climate crisis is fake, but the crisis at the border is real. Meanwhile, that keeps happening. Look, there are lots of other examples of tech illiteracy, and I don't just mean calling Apple CEO Tim Cook Tim Apple. This week, Trump claimed that he referred to Tim Cook as Tim Apple in order to save time, remember? And of course, Trump took another stab there at fake news. There's other examples of this lack of technology information and expertise. Sadly, this came up again after the tragic crash of that Ethiopian jet. The president's tweet about it, his comment about how planes have gotten too complicated. He said that the pilots don't know how to fly these planes anymore. What he effectively said was that it was better back in the olden days. And that's the message from the president over and over again, even though he's also calling for a space force. There's this tech illiteracy that we see over and over again that reminds us more of this day and age than 2019. Let's talk about it with a number of folks here with me, including legendary journalist, former CBS News Anchor, and current anchor of The Big Interview on Access TV, Dan Rather. Back with me here, Katie and Nayyera as well. Katie, you wrote about this week, so I want to ask you about this first. You wrote about the president oftentimes thinking that older is better. Have we seen this for the past 2.5 years, or is this new?
I don't think it's new at all.
Yeah.
After I wrote that piece, a cable guy messaged me and said he had installed the president's cable back in Trump Tower, and they had to consolidate from 2 remotes to 1 because it was too confusing. It's just, he's 72, he's of a generation where he, is not technologically adept at a lot of things. He masters Twitter and his DVR, but like this is who he is. But also he relies on the extra advantage of being able to go up in front of his supporters and say, come with me to the past when things
go back
were
to
better.
The good old days.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I think a lot of it's like he likes tech that he likes, and then the rest of it's an opportunity to fit into this wider message of America was good when we had coal and steam power and you had jobs, and it all fits into like come back to the 50s with me.
Yeah, to a narrative. Yeah, and here's why I think this matters. I think it matters because we're all reeling from yet another white supremacist terror attack from a man who apparently lived online. The suspect has this awful digital history. But if the president and his aides don't know how the web works, don't know how the digital age works, if they're not savvy about this, how can they effectively respond to this rising threat of extremism on the internet?
Well, the answer is not very well. But look, we have to deal with reality. This is a whole new age. And the president has the strongest, the most powerful platform for propaganda that humans have ever had. No president has ever had this kind of reach, the combination of television, radio, the internet, social media, tweet.
Twitter. He does love Twitter. That's his one tech savviness, yeah.
Well, with all respect, I don't think his age being 72 is any excuse of not keeping up. He's basically anti-science. When you talk about being, what he says about climate change, all of that, that's in a wider context of actually this administration led by the president is downgrading science. At the very time we need to be leaping forward, keeping up with science. They're cutting research and that sort of thing. But, with Twitter, much of the time, not all the time, much of the time, I sense the public has a sense that they're facing a manure spreader in a windstorm. It just keeps coming, coming at you.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, but it's unrelenting. And he understands the value of that. But for the rest of us and for the public at large, it's time, take a deep breath, say to yourself, stay steady, keep in mind that this is a tremendous tool for propaganda, see it in that context and do the best we can.
The president also said on Friday he doesn't believe that white nationalism and terror attacks as a result are a growing threat. He claimed, Nayyera, this is a small group that's engaging in this. Isn't this another example of the president disregarding his own intelligence agencies, right? Not only is he not understanding what's going on these devices, but he's also disregarding his own government agencies' intelligence.
Yeah, it's absolutely willful ignorance that plays into his own political agenda. Because let's be real, he would not be messing up the name of Vladimir Putin any point. That's not a name he's going to forget anytime soon. And that same situation there, where he ignored his intel agencies, 17 came together to say that Russia was interfering in elections because that suited Donald Trump's agenda. It suits his agenda given that he has the support of Stephen Miller, and when it comes to policy, that Stephen Bannon was his major instigator on his campaign. He even had Seb Gorka, who used to actually wear Nazi uniforms openly, as people who have guided and advised him on how to build his coalition and to maintain his presidency. Each of these individuals has, in their own lives, advanced white nationalist narratives, and these come from actually even before the Donald Trump administration, right? You look at, in 2016, while this campaign was going on, you had Eamon Bundy take over a federal facility with his militia in Oregon, and it took about a month for police to actually make an arrest. There is absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind that if those perpetrators were black or brown, that the police would have waited that long. So they tapped into the sense in American culture that white militiamen are standing up for their rights in a way that terrorists are not. So it's that language that they take advantage of and continue to put into policy, where you fast forward to the actual Trump administration in 2017, they downgraded white nationalist networks and right-wing extremisms from the networks that the Department of Justice and FBI were looking at. In their Countering Violent Extremism program, they literally said the only people we are going to focus on are radical Islamists, even though the majority, by far, majority of attacks that have happened on American soil in the last 10 years in which Americans have been victims were done by right-wing extremists.
It's a lot of information that folks need to understand, and I hope that the press continues to shine a spotlight on it. Nayyera, thank you. Katie, thank you as well. Dan, please stick around. We have a little bit more for you after the break. Up next.